hope they have an air hockey table or something.
What's up, man?
Hey, I heard this was the spot for the Rendezvous? Rendezvous? I don't know, some French word.
Password?
I don't know. They just said it was for like 100 Thieves fans, LCS fans. And Sniper?
Hi, come on in, man.
Oh, wow, work. Nice. Okay, let's go. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to The Rendezvous. This will be our weekly meetup, formerly known as TFC, for 100 Thieves fans to come in. We're going to talk about the games that have happened, preview the matches upcoming, talk about the general state of the org, how things are going within the League of Legends space. It should hopefully be a fun season, and quite frankly, a little bit of a rough one. And I figure we might need these formal meetings as well. A lot has changed since the last time that we met. So let's go over who the Thieves are this year, starting in the bot lane. If you followed the league at all last year, the name Ayla will sound familiar. He notably did start with FlyQuest, was going to be seen as kind of the future of the team going forward. A young gun support who's actually been around for quite a while, but was like new to the LCS. Unfortunately, he had visa issues early in spring, and he came in and replaced Winsome and didn't unfortunately do all that well. They ended up swapping back to Winsome before spring playoffs, or actually I think mid-spring playoffs, and then ended up trading Ayla to Evil Geniuses come summer, where EG barely missed out on Worlds as Jojo Pune tried to pretty much claw that roster into playoffs. A lot of people are going to be down on him, and for some rightful reasons, for some wrong reasons. Mechanically, I think he had some blunders for sure, but his shot calling is apparently one of the premier aspects of his play. Something that we've been severely lacking on 100 Thieves for quite a while since we got rid of Huhi. So if he truly is going to be a shot caller, one, it might take time for him to gel, especially as a younger LCS face. He might not have the chops that some of the other players have, and that's fine, and that will come over time. But it's also not reasonable to expect him to come to 100 Thieves and just change everything and instantly we're a top team. One of the themes you'll understand about this year is that we are all about development. And I know it's a buzzword, it's a catchword in the LCS at this point, where people say, oh, it's development, that's an excuse to go cheap and not pay a lot and just expect bad results. Yes, this squad is a fairly cheap roster, all things considered. But the thing that you should be expecting is growth and development. From players like Ayla, or we'll later talk about Sniper, you should expect them to improve from the beginning of the year to the end, which is why it's going to be important for people to temper expectations and be realistic about the early on portions of the split and hope that it gets better as time goes on. We're going to see mistakes, including from Ayla, maybe some bad shot calls, but you hope that that improves over time. And if it doesn't, then we'll figure it out when that time comes later. But you also need to make sure you're giving enough time that, yeah, we've flushed out every option we can to work and develop these players. Alongside of Ayla in the bot lane is going to be Big Meech.
I think I'm Big Meech.
The tallest player on the team, and also a fairly fresh face coming from the Sky's Toast, who notably won the NACL playoffs. He's a promising young player. Now, obviously, when you look at who he's replacing, it's one of the biggest names in the league, and that unfortunately is going to bring a lot of attention to him, as some Doublelift fans, if you're still around to be a 100 Thieves fan, great, glad to have you aboard. If you jump ship, then, see you and hope you have a good time. But he's got big shoes to fill, especially when the expectation for most people at the end of last year was that we were playing through bot lane and playing through Doublelift, and people were probably going to look at Meech and say the same thing. Is it right to put that expectation on him? Probably not. You would expect mid-jungle to carry, given that they're the two elder players of the team. But Meech has apparently got potential, and the big thing that I want to see out of him is I just want to see proper positioning in team fights. I want to make sure that if everybody is setting the pins up for him, that he's able to knock them down, flashing at the right times, dodging the right skills as they're coming at him. It's one thing to do it in Academy or Challenger or online, even with the Sky's Toast, but like the mechanics and reaction times are drastically different. It's like going from college football to pro football. The speed alone is just obnoxiously different. So same thing here. You need to be able to react quicker and handle these high pressure situations a little bit better, especially as the primary damage dealer on this team. Champions wise, he's always gotten a few more resources. He plays those carry champions, which, hey, can be a good thing if it works out, but also could be a problem if things start not going so well and then you look to carry in other lanes. But we'll deal with that when it comes. We have no clue what the established identity is yet of this team at all. I'm just trying to give you as much information as I can about the individual players. But let's shift to the mid lane. Quid is the only returning face of this roster from last year, and I understand that a lot of people are going to be down on him, but the early signs that we've seen so far this year are actually really positive. One, he's been doing incredibly well in Champions Queue, and it's been fairly consistent. His mechanics have clearly gotten a little bit better, at least visibly from what we saw the last time he was on stage. And Sniper, who's the top laner of the team now, had this to say about him.
Consistency is kind of like what every single one of us like really needs in order to like get to that level, like be the number one team, be the number one top laner or whatever it is. But if I had to say who's the most consistent, it would probably be Quid. I think Quid's actually really consistent, and I think very highly of him. I didn't think like highly of him before I joined the team and stuff. I just thought he was like, oh, like another one of these Korea imports, or not Korea imports, sorry, but like another one of these like imports who are coming into the league and not really doing much, you know. But I was very surprised. His mindset's good, and he's been like the most consistent out of all of us.
Almost everybody's going to have him last in their power rankings, and I don't blame them. It's okay to be critical after what was a really bad last split, but Jungle Juice, the general manager of the team, also noted that that was also on them and on the management of 100 Thieves' fault for why he came into such a bad system.
I would say for Quid haters out there, I think that hate is honestly kind of warranted, if I'm being honest. Like, honestly, like when, you know, I'm like looking from behind the scenes, like I have context and everything, but when you're a fan, all you care about is like on stage results, right? So yeah, he came in the middle of the split, didn't have a great start, but I think he like started looking much better towards the second half of the split. But you kind of have to take context here from my perspective, is like he is an exceptionally mechanically talented player. We brought this like Korean rookie from like South Korea, right? He got to play in LCS for maybe about 4 weeks because we had so many visa issues, because the Peterson thing kind of happened at a very sensitive time. So for us to like field him for 4 weeks without like much like building rapport with him, to just like throw him out because like the environment wasn't really set up to succeed, I think would also just set like a terrible like culture precedent for the organization, right? It's like, why would rookies ever take chances on us if this is how we like treat people in general? So we think he has what it takes. We're excited to give him a second chance.
He deserves his full year, and as long as we start seeing improvements, especially in lane where he would fall behind pretty consistently, then I think we could have something here. Yes, it's fair to criticize him for a single split, but I also don't think it's right to judge his entire career based on that. This year, he's coming into a proper system with the right coaching and right pieces around him to try and develop, and if we don't see signs of improvement, then sure, we'll raise the red flag. But again, as with every other position on this team, barring the next one, it's all about young talent developing. The exception being River. He was a top 3 jungler last split, and understandably, we all should have high expectations for him. Yes, he's going to have arguably worse pieces around him to start off the year, but it is also going to be his job to be able to help facilitate them and bring them out of their shells a little bit more. Also, being completely honest, it's going to be really nice not to just see Wukong, Lee Sin, and these few champions that Closer unfortunately had us limited to all of last year. Our diversity has skyrocketed exponentially, and thank God the best Jarvan in the league is finally on our team, so I'm no longer going to be scared when it's locked in. But there's no denying the focal point of this team. He's at the head of content. He was featured in the LCS piece that came out on Tuesday of this week. Is Sniper, the 17-year-old prodigy, challenger player since 13, in the development systems since 15. He makes his debut at 17 years old, one of the youngest players to ever do it in the league. And I'm warning you now, he's going to be the worst top laner in the league to start. That should be the expectation of him. We as 100 Thieves fans need to understand he's not just going to come out and smack everybody that he's against. He's going to talk it up to be so. He's going to be cocky. He's going to be confident. That's his personality type. And look, it is our job to say, hey, you know what? Get him next time. Keep it up. What I don't want to see from 100 Thieves fans, and what we need to make sure that we do not do, is we need to not do what Fudge has with C9 fans. Where Fudge has that cockiness and that confidence, but it doesn't mold well with the C9 fan base. It never really has, and they just don't embrace it. And because of that, it creates this toxic narrative between the players and teams that whenever Fudge isn't performing well, there's not like this, you know what? Yeah, get back up. You're going to do it next time. Keep going. Look at K-Corp. They're 0-3 in the LEC, yet they're still out here talking shit. As they should be, in the same way that we should be about Sniper. It's not about where he starts the year, it's about where he ends the year. So have faith, ride it out. I don't know whether he's going to be on carry champions or tank champions. We have no clue what the meta is going to look like. We'll see here whenever the game actually goes live on Saturday, but it's just kind of up in the air. The final thing to note is that we do have a coaching change as well. Kaz and Nuke Duck, who were here last year, are out. In is Golden Glue, who was formerly with 100 Thieves Academy, but then went to Disguised Toast whenever the whole debacle of Academy teams being dropped happened. Won NACL with Disguised Toast and is now following that and coming back in as head coach. And our assistant coach is actually going to be Spooks, who was the head coach of Golden Guardians last year, the team that unfortunately went the Worlds and stumbled, but nevertheless, they had a pretty incredible year and growth amongst all the players that were on the team. They should be the spotlight that you're looking at this year to say, yeah, they've got a track record. Well, at least Spooks does. Golden Glue has never been a head coach in the LCS. But their history shows that they're good at developing younger players, and they just need to do it again with some of the rawest talent that exists in the league. It's not an easy task, and we have to give them patience. Last year, I was critical on coaching staff because, yeah, we did have elder players. That's weird to say with Doublelift and Bjergsen, but they both retired, so it technically is true. This year, it is all younger players. I'm not going to be fully critical of coaching staff in spring split unless we see like literally no improvement by the end. After talking with them, I have faith that they'll do a good job here. Now, let's kick it over to some fan questions. Catman asks, how is Meech gonna fare in a meta that seems to be around bot lane and bot laners getting dove consistently when he's a rookie player? And the truth is, I honestly think he's gonna struggle at first. The nerves of coming to pro are already hard enough as is, let alone throwing in a meta that is very heavily focused around you and like making sure that you protect yourself at all times is not gonna be easy. We saw Young get a lot of flack for that last year at points whenever it was about, you know, protecting the Zeri or the Jinx comps and stuff like that. I don't think we're going to see like as much scaling like Jinx, but being able to handle pressure is a very important skill in pro play. If you can absorb that and then allow the other lanes that are not getting pressure to try and get ahead, that would be a massive positive step. But given the overall strength of bot lanes in the league, especially as you have players like FBI, Berserker, and others, yeah, I think it is going to be a little bit tough at first, and I think they will be bottom 4 bot lane in the league to kick it off and then slowly improve as time goes on. Beans asked the all-important question, will Sniper be all-pro? I'm going to say by the end of summer. My answer is honestly going to be no. I don't think so. I love Sniper, and by all means, I'm going to have to own up to saying this as I talk to him next time, but I legitimately think it's okay for him to be hopefully the 5th or 6th best top laner in the league by the end of the year. I think that's the goal. When you have people like Bwipo and Dokla and Fudge, I don't think it's reasonable to expect him to come in and just dominate right away. I think it is going to take time. And that's also dependent on how the pieces around him do as well. If everybody pops off and then he elevates with it, then maybe he could get up to 4th, but I don't see him getting top 3 by the end of his first year. I think next year, yeah, like the goal for him should be to hit all pro by the end of his 2nd year. Rookie of the year, completely understandable goal. That'd be a great benchmark for him to strive for. However, I think in terms of all pro, 2025 is when I'm looking at his actual chance at like starting to convert into one of these top 3 top laners and one of these people that we see as like the face of the league. I just don't see it happening this year yet, and I don't want to rush expectations on him. We've got 2 quick org notes to cover before we go into previewing the season schedule and the upcoming weekend's matches. First, the new jersey for this year has been released, and I must say it's one of the nicest ones yet. The baseball jersey I think will be the classic in everybody's minds. I personally really love the 2021 Worlds jersey, but that's not really in the conversation of like normal ones. The partnership with Adidas is absolutely incredible. Those 3 stripes make a massive difference on this jersey, which isn't all that different from Fnatic's Worlds one from a few years ago. Most people are gonna say, oh, well, you know, where's the red for 100 Thieves? Personally, I'm actually fine with the black and white and then adding red accents as time comes along, whether it's in summer or for Worlds or Champions or whatever like those jerseys might be in the future. I think this is a phenomenal base jersey. I wouldn't say it passes the baseball jerseys. I feel like that was a historic moment in time that might not ever be replicated ever again, but this is second to that. This is probably my favorite 100 Thieves jersey that we've had so far. Second is a massive shout out to Nate Shot, who is now a father. Him and Haley had their daughter. So from all the 100 Thieves fans to Nate Shot and his family, congratulations. Growing the 100 Thieves fandom one person at a time. And finally, I want to give a massive shout out to Elgato, who is now one of my personal sponsors on my YouTube content and everywhere else. If you want to get any Elgato products, including the face cams that I use to live stream, key lights, and anything else, my partner link is down in the description below. So let's do this. Let's go over the schedule for the entire year. As you're seeing to my left, we have one of the hardest starts to the season that you could possibly ask for. I will say the closing weeks are not bad, given that we only have 8 teams in the league. There's really no such thing as like an easy week. Dignitas and Immortals are going to be the 2 teams I look at as like we need to be able to beat both of them if we're going to make it into playoffs. Maybe steal a game off of one of the top teams, but that's not my expectation. To be very clear for this year, I just want to make playoffs. That's the only goal with a roster like this. And I actually have a bet with one of the hosts of the Flight Check podcast for FlyQuest that if FlyQuest does not 2-0 us this year, he loses. Again, it's important to establish the odds and like where we actually are. We realistically should not take games off of NRG, Cloud9, and FlyQuest. And that's not me being pessimistic about the year nor doubting us. That's truly believing that we are going to be a development team that gets better as the year goes on. I know there are going to be people that call me a coward for not predicting them to win every game. And obviously I'll say on Twitter whenever we actually are like giving predictions that yeah, 100 Thieves is going to win this. But in reality, like if we can steal some of those top games, then great. But our sole goal is to beat the bottom feeders and start working on our skills to start ramping up as time goes on. If we can build into something, then great. So this week we start off with Team Liquid, which God, I can't, we've talked about it before. This is my personal rivalry. This is the organization that I just want to beat more than anybody else. Partially because whenever I started watching, Team Liquid was just on top. I started watching mostly at the beginning of their 4 back-to-back titles, and it was just annoying to see them do so incredibly well and just have unlimited money. And on top of that, even now, whenever they missed Worlds in 2022 with like this multi-million-dollar roster, which they then downgraded in 2023 to still make Worlds, which by the way, they have an article out with Harvard, which actually does lay out their financials, and they're nearly break-even profitable as an organization. So the fact that they pissed away money like it was nobody's business in years prior and are still nearly profitable, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm jealous. Because obviously 100 Thieves is going through our own financial issues as we struggle with getting on the other side of the whole venture capitalist boom. It's annoying that they're on the other side of it, or at least mostly to the point where like they're break even and it doesn't seem like they're having as big of problems, which, God, screw them. By all means, I respect the people over there. I just don't want to see them win again. I'm sorry, I just saw it too much early on. I'd be fine if TL never won a title ever again. I don't even know how to predict these games. We don't know the meta. We don't know how anybody's going to play. I would just say go in and do our best. If we can not lose by like 25 minutes and not be down like 10k gold, then hey, like we put ourselves in a good position, and that's fine with me for week 1. If we can get out of this week 1-1, to be clear, I'm not expecting to beat Cloud9. Even if they are rusty, even if we have more experience and we're boot camping more as Cloud9 took time off of Worlds, I'm not expecting us, if you held a gun to my head, said put $1,000 on it, I would not technically predict us to win. If we can squeak out of 1 week, that's a massive positive. And we'll regroup next week to see where this all landed, who was the good performers, who was not. But the pick to watch out for, as always, is Rivers Jarvan. You get that champion in that man's hands, you never know what's going to happen. I know it's a shorter preview, but unfortunately there's not much to discuss so far other than just like excitement to finally get this all started. So that's it for me this week, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you next week on the Rendezvous as we catch up on whatever has happened, however the events of this week unfolded, and hopefully we'll have a lot to talk about, both positive and probably a little bit of negative as well. So again, I'll just reiterate, be realistic with your expectations, but still be loud and vocal across all social media platforms. Don't be afraid to cheer on the Thieves through thick and thin, because there's going to be a lot of up and downs. And hey, that's the part of fandom where the beginning of a rebuilding period comes with the territory. Thanks for watching. See you all next week. And adios until we rendezvous again.